The Super Bowl, pardon me, the Super Bowl show, the big game, they had shown an ad where people were describing the Declaration of Independence, and there was a phrase in there that I had noted. And the phrase was that to secure these rights, government are instituted among men, deriving the just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such a form as to them seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. That's a nice quote. It's from the Declaration of Independence, written 200 years ago, plus. The requirement that American people actually have today is the ability to vote directly into Congress. The 20th Amendment is a means of compromise. We do not need really to have a new form of government. However, the current form of government of the American people to elect an individual into Congress, elect an individual into the Senate, is rather limiting. Basically, the ideologies of the political parties, the people being elected, are supported by the party's political structure. And there's not a lot of compromise, exchange of ideas, or debate. The rise of religious ideology, or ideology in general, as a means of creation of laws, they are basically do not represent everyone. In fact, if you're in a Republican state like Texas or Florida and you're a Democrat that voted for a Democratic person, even if that person gets elected into the local Senate or the local House of Representatives, they do not have the ability to have their ideas signed into law. It is because of the political party lines, basically. The 20th Amendment allows the American voter to propose his own legislation. In other words, we would have, again, taxation with representation, meaning you yourself are represented, you yourself are taxed, and you yourself are proposing ideas on an electronic platform. And that electronic platform will be voted upon by all Americans in the United States. And when we're done with those particular voting bills into law, vote, and when that's completed and the dedicated federal lawyers change that agreed upon voted majority bill into the legalese correct written form, then that person can put that bill before the House of Representatives and put that bill forth before the Senate. This will not be interrupted or not allowed to be voted upon, because the 20th Amendment, there's a clause about reserving the right to bring bills forth before the House and the Senate. We are not going to be held up by whoever political party has the most voters, because neither political party will have the majority. Ever. Again, actually. Generally, Republicans and Democrats, they're approximately 50-50 in both. So, you reserve the right of representation, meaning yourself. You reserve the right to propose laws, your ideas, and you reserve the right to have them put forth in Congress to be voted upon into laws. This is an improvement of the process that was instituted 200 years ago. In fact, the Declaration of Independence remember, it said the phrase that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving the just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of those ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it. So there's a requirement to alter how bills are being presented in Congress and the Senate and signed into law. It makes very logical sense to me. And I hope one day that it does get written into the Constitution and put forth to all Americans.